Okay, so today we're talking about how to build wealth faster with less cash through strategic infill development. So a little bit about me. So I started back in 2013 with house hacking. So I bought a duplex in Boise. I lived in one side and rented out the other. At that time, I was able to buy that duplex for 135,000. I lived in the one side basically for free. The other side paid my mortgage, which was nice. You really like we haven't had that kind of deal here for several years. And then I did that again 2 years later at another property. So that's kind of how I got my start. Then I transitioned to flipping in 2016. So I lost my job at the beginning of 2016. And then I basically traveled for a couple months, then kind of dove right into flipping houses. So I did that full time. Um, and so I did that for a few years before shifting to infill development. I bought my first property in 2019, kind of went through the entitlement phase and then started the actual development 2020 and construction in 2021, and then kind of picked up some more projects from there as well. And then really started on focusing on really scaling my business to a level that I've been intending for several years, starting last year when I started seeing a lot of opportunity, a lot more opportunity in land and development. So what I do today, so I specialize in single family homes, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, and ADUs all over the Treasure Valley. Also build small to mid-sized subdivisions in key neighborhoods. That's mostly what I do for myself on the small to mid-sized subdivisions. And then we're focused on helping other investors take advantage of smaller infill deals that we can split a lot and build multifamily or small multifamily or single family homes and really help them take advantage of these opportunities that are out there. We offer full scope consulting, project management, and general contracting, all the way from the site acquisition or even really recognizing the opportunities, all the way through an entitlement, development, and construction. We're also zoning code strategists and experts. So we really know the Boise's and the surrounding area zoning code really well. Boise just changed their zoning December of 2023. And so a lot of changes took place with that. We have multiple projects going on that we're taking advantage of the new zoning, and it's really unlocking a ton of opportunity and value where it was kind of locked before. And we're passionate about turning overlooked land into opportunities. And one of the things I'm also passionate about is helping other people, build and scale their wealth and also education. I got started, even before I ever bought my first property, I got started by reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then, joining seminars and events and really educating myself. And I find in the investor community, everybody's been really willing to share information, and it's all about education and helping each other out. And I think the more people in general that that you can help out, the more we accomplish for ourselves as well. So it's always a win-win. So if you're an investor, this workshop is built to help you unlock development opportunities that really few others know how to look for. Also how to use the new zoning rules to your advantage and build cash flowing assets without overpaying for turnkey deals. It'll also help you partner with experts who handle the heavy lifting. So you don't have to be experts in development to do any of this. What we're going to talk about today, so part one is going to be the value of infill development in today's market, why this is a game changer for investors, how to build more wealth with less capital. We'll talk about some real case studies and investor outcomes, and then how to partner with us at Matson Homes, and then we'll answer questions at the end. So part one is the value of infill development in today's market. Number one thing, what is infill development? So infill development, when we talk about that, it just means building new housing on underused or vacant lots within established neighborhoods. So instead of urban sprawl, it uses existing roads, sewers, and other utilities. There's existing demand and comparables, and there's also built-in walkability and rental appeal. So it's already within city limits, and most of the infrastructure is already in place. It's a sustainable high return way to increase density and value. So some of the common infill strategies that we see, one of them is repurposing buildings. Now, we don't see this much in Boise specifically, but I do see it in a lot of other established larger cities. One of these is ways is converting old warehouses or motels into multifamily units, or creating new housing in other existing structures. A really common thing right now that's big as well is accessory dwelling units. So, especially with a lot of the new laws that are passed in Idaho, and I know this is happening all over the US and larger cities as well, is loosening restrictions on ADUs. So these are like backyard cottages, garage conversions, or basement units. They're great for rental income and affordability. Another aspect is lot splits and minor land divisions. So this is where we divide off oversized lots for new homes or small multifamily builds, and it adds value without needing raw land. The other form is small scale, high impact development. So large lots, creating 5+ parcels, or 4+ parcels. So we can either sell the lots, build homes, duplexes, triplexes, or mixed use. So more units equals more income potential. And then sometimes it's a little bit slower process, but greater long-term return. This is the area where we focus on for our own developments. In this mid-size, we typically are like 5 to 25 units. And then for other people, we focus on mostly lot splits and building ADUs and building on existing lots. So part two, the big investor opportunity. So a lot of investors are used to the old model of trying to add rental units. So buying turnkey rentals right now takes anywhere from 25 to 40% down just to break even, really. You can't really expect cash flow with that right off the bat in most markets. When there is a deal, it's ultra competitive and it's rare to find. And investors and homeowners are really looking for ways to add rental income, but most deals really don't pencil. So the new model with us is using the updated zoning code to add density for a lower cost. And we'll talk how we do this, but some examples of the new zoning code with Boise. Almost all areas of zoning in Boise created more units per lot. There's less parking requirements, which also means higher density. So for example, in R1C, which is one of the most common zoning districts in Boise, it increased from 8 units per acre to 12.4 units per acre. Now, if you have a house sitting on an existing lot, sometimes that doesn't mean anything, but sometimes, a lot of times, when it's sitting on, let's say you have a house sitting on, maybe 0.2 acres, where previously you couldn't really build anything on that, but now there might be an opportunity where you can actually split off a lot and build a new unit on there. Most zoning districts, you can also build taller buildings, and that allows you to achieve more square footage to meet your numbers. And then you also have duplex and ADU combos are now the norm, not the exception. So basically any residential zoning district in Boise now, you can build a duplex as long as you can meet the parking requirements, and that's just 1 per unit, typically up to 3 bedrooms per unit. And so as long as you can fit 2 parking spaces, you can build a duplex typically. And then the ADUs don't require parking, so you can actually add 3 doors to almost any lot in Boise. Some zones have no unit cap, so no maximum density. It's basically just limited by, regulated by parking and meeting building height requirements and setbacks and that kind of thing. So homeowners and small investors can easily add ADUs, duplexes, and more. So the new requirements for accessory dwelling units in Boise specifically, so they can be up to 900 square feet now, which was previously 700 square feet. They can be 2 bedrooms, and there's no additional parking requirements or deed restrictions. Before the new zoning, you had to have one parking space added, and it had to be off street. And then there was also a deed restriction placed on the property for where you actually had to live in one of the units all the time for forever. So nobody, it was really hard for investors to, well, impossible for investors to buy it if they weren't going to live in it, because it was deed restricted, where they couldn't build an ADU and then move out of one of both, either one of the units. So most building lots in Boise, you can build a duplex on and add an ADU, allowing for 3 units on one lot. There's also incentives that allow you to increase this to a triplex or fourplex if you're able to meet parking requirements also. So why this is working now? So again, it comes down to the density and the allowed uses. So you can build 2 to 4 units on, or even 5 units on one lot without needing new land. ADUs, you can build up to 900 square feet. There's no parking or deed restrictions, and you can stack strategies. So you can split a lot, build multiple units, house hack, or sell off the new lot. So some infill projects, you can go to 7+ doors from one parcel, and I'll actually show you how we're doing this with one person right now. Part 3, how infill helps you build wealth. So lot splits plus new construction equals instant. In real estate, that means after a year or more, 6-figure equity. So you can sell or refinance the new units at the market value, and you can stack deals with the BRR strategy. Oh, let me make sure. Yeah, okay. Okay, so cash flow multipliers. So ADUs, right now, ADUs are a great opportunity. If you have a way to access equity in a house that you own already, or you just have the cash to build an ADU, a lot of times you can build ADUs for around 180,000 or more, depending on, the layout and site features and everything, but probably starting around 180. And then in most areas of town, you can get, with a 2-bedroom ADU, you can get 1,600 plus a month in rent, sometimes a lot higher depending on the neighborhood. So this is really the closest thing to getting a 1%, meeting that 1% rule in rental real estate. In Boise, we haven't really seen that for quite a long time. When you're just looking to go and buy a house, a lot of times you end up spending $500,000 on a rental property, and you might get 300 or 30,000, or sorry, 3,000 a month in rent if you're lucky. Then when you can build a duplex or a triplex, these numbers look even better. Also, when you're looking at new construction, the nice thing with that is that your numbers typically work better also, because you're talking about new construction where you have a lot less capital expenses that you have to plan for. A lot of times those capital expenses don't come into play until 10+ years down the road. And then with multifamily configurations, you increase the value per door. So with infill development, you can scale faster with less capital. For example, you can buy a property using traditional financing, seller financing, DSCR, or VA loans. You can split a lot off and create value where there was none previously. And you can add value without speculating on appreciation. So the reason why this works is land is only valuable after it's split. So when you go to buy a house sitting on, let's say, a quarter of an acre, and you can split off a lot, there might be a handful of investors that look at that, but you're going to be able to buy that house at the market value of just the house, whether it sits on 0.25 acres or 0.15 acres, and that can't be split, because that value really isn't created until the lot is split. Sometimes, it might appraise for a little bit more because it sits on a larger lot. But once you split that lot, you're creating, at least in the Boise area, you're creating 6 figures in value. Most lots in Boise are going to sell for at least 150,000, even to sell them to a builder. And sometimes, depending on the area of town, it could sell for, 300, 350, 400,000 on the north end sometimes. So part 4, how Matson Homes helps you make more money with less effort. So the biggest thing is we do all the heavy lifting. You get the ROI. So we do a zoning and feasibility analysis. We do the vetting of all the lots and entitlements. We come up with a development strategy, ADUs, like if we can add ADUs versus a duplex or triplex. Now, we don't track properties that you can add an ADU on because essentially almost, I would say most, not most, but at least a good percentage of properties you can add an ADU to. A lot of times it doesn't necessarily make sense to buy a house just to add an ADU. But you have an existing property and you want to add an ADU to it, that typically makes a lot more sense. We do the full construction and project management, and then we design, our design is optimized for cash flow and future comparables based on your goals. So if your goal is to add long-term rentals to your portfolio, and we'll talk a little bit about this on future slides as well. But if your goal is to add long-term rentals to your portfolio, we design the project and optimize it so that you're building something that is optimized for long-term rentals. Versus if you're looking for more cash flow and you want to build it for short-term rentals, we also have a strategy for that. Or if you just want to split the lot, sell the lot, or split the lot, build a new house and sell the new house, we can basically design the project to meet all that. So this is an example of our deal list. So this is actually a couple weeks old now, but this is just one tab that we have that we keep track of. And so what we do is we kind of keep a list of the addresses that we can do something with, keep track of the bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, what the zoning is. When you have access to this list, you can click on the link and this will bring you to the assessor's site. So you can kind of see the details of the property, the price that it's at, what our strategy is, what the existing home value is. So most of the time we try to help you acquire something that this home value equals the price that they're selling it for. Sometimes there's sellers that want to sell it at a premium, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But like if you look here at this one, for example, they were asking a premium for the land, and then if you look at the cost of developing the land and trying to split the lots, you actually lose money, but then you could make money on the new construction build. So depending on your strategy, could work or may not. Oh, let me pause here. Victor's saying that he's not seeing the shared screen. I'm just gonna pause it here.
It looks like Harry could see it. I just wasn't seeing. I could see you just fine. Just
oh, weird. Maybe check your settings on your Zoom. At any rate, I can send you the recording with the slides also. So
sorry about that. All right.
yeah, no worries. Obviously, like this would make more sense if you can see the slides here.
There we go. I see it now.
Okay. All right, let me get back to the slide we were.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. It definitely makes a lot more sense when you can see the visuals. Okay. Okay, so this is just an example of our deal list. We'll cover this more in depth on a future Zoom call. So this is an example of a deal that is actually still active. They've actually done a couple price changes, but I just wanted to show you an example of what we look at and what can be done with something like this. So this property here, so this is on the Boise bench, and it's a single family house that has been kind of fixed up. It's actually move-in ready right now. Now the neighborhood it's in isn't really like a high-end neighborhood by any means, but it's probably perfect for rentals. And so I'll kind of go forward with, so this is the overhead of the property. So you'll notice this, so this is the house, this is the house facing the street that it's on, and then it's actually on a corner lot, which is also ideal for a lot split in this scenario. So this house can actually be rented out as is. The nice thing with this strategy is, okay, so you buy this house, you put, maybe you have a normal investment loan with 20 or 25% down. Ideally, you're able to rent it out and come pretty close to breaking even just by putting 20 to 25% down. Sometimes you can actually break even or cash flow a little bit. And that what that does, that helps you offset your monthly costs. It's not costing you monthly fees or a monthly mortgage payment while you're waiting to split this, because this takes a little bit of time. But what we can do here, so this has a huge backyard because it sits on a big lot. So we can split off a 50-foot wide lot in the back here and still meet the minimum requirements for the backyard of this existing house. And now we have a almost 4,000 square foot lot that we can split off. Now, this doesn't seem huge, but in Boise city limits, that's kind of what they're going for, is smaller lots, higher density. And we can actually, with the new all the new zoning, we could actually fit a duplex and an ADU. So we could actually fit 3 doors on this, meet all the parking requirements, and essentially have 8 bedrooms as rentals with 3 different units. So you can add 3 doors to this original 1 door. The nice thing with this strategy too, so you buy this house, it's market value. In fact, right now I know it appraised for less than what they're selling the house, or sorry, it appraised for more than what they're currently selling the house for or trying to sell the house for. And so you're walking into this land for basically the cost that it takes to separate the land from this. So what that means is basically you're splitting off this lot, and now once it's split, you could actually, theoretically, you could just sell the lot. Ideally, we're working with people that want to go at least all the way through the build, because that's where we make the largest chunk of our money. And you actually would make more money typically too if you stick with us through the build. And so basically you walk into this with the equity of this land as a duplex approved lot on this area of town. I'd say you'd probably sell it for 200,000. And so you basically just subtract the cost of developing this lot, and you have a 6-figure income right there by selling the lot. Or you can roll that equity into a long-term rental and get additional doors that cash flow. And I'll show you the numbers here in a second. But if you want to keep this as a long-term rental, it'll actually cash flow depending on your strategy. So this is what those numbers look like. So again, this is before they reduce the price. I think they're now down to 369. And so this is what we estimate. So we can add the duplex and the ADU. We estimate the entitlement cost to be 40,000. Development costs. So one thing that the city does make you do, just on every single lot, typically, if it doesn't have sidewalks, you're gonna have to do sidewalks, and they'll make you put sidewalks all the way around. So that's just a good thing to know. That's in those development costs. And a lot of times they'll actually make you widen the road. So this road specifically, I know that would be a requirement. And so that's what those development costs are. So now your new lot value is 200,000. So when you take this minus the selling cost minus your expenses to get there, you have a lot profit of about 87,000. But then if we go and build the new construction duplex and ADU, this is what it costs to construct. Your total cost, what our cost would be to do that. If you get a construction loan on it, this would be what you could expect to pay. On the conservative side, ideally this is less, because ideally we could do it in less than a year to have it built and refinanced or sold. But this is factoring in a year at some of the higher interest rates even. This is the probable sales price or value, sales costs on that, and then your total profit based on all this. This is what it would look like as a return. So now you have the renovation of the existing house and then the ARV. So we wouldn't have to renovate this house. Like I said, it's already fixed up inside. We'd probably have to adjust these numbers a little bit just based on what it's, currently going or selling for, and you'd probably sell it for the same price once this is split. So in 12 months, you'd basically sell it for the same price so that you actually have a loss of profit on that if it doesn't increase in price just because you have sales costs in there. So you have your final profit, the total capital invested to get there, and then your ROI. This is your analyzed ROI. So this whole project would take probably 2 years, maybe a little bit less. And so you're of your annual profit here. Now, I don't know too many people that are making 28% on their money unless they get really lucky on a specific investment. But there's not too many people that are consistently making, 28% on their money. And especially not in real estate lately. So this is another strategy if you want to keep if you want to keep the new units as rentals, there's another way you can actually get some of your money back and keep this rental and cash flow. So what you do is you sell the original house, you get your money back from the deposit you put on that. Now this is your capital remaining in the deal. Your total equity in the deal that's remaining in that's kind of locked in until you sell basically, or maybe rates go down in a couple of years and you refinance and access some of this. But then this is what your new construction monthly rents would be for those 3 units. This is the total debt you'd be refinancing. And then this is at 6.5% interest. Right now, that's probably a little low. It might be a little higher right now. But in a year from now, too, when you're ultimately or a year and a half to 2 years from now, this might be more accurate. Maybe it's less than that. And the other thing with this too is like, even though you don't necessarily know what this number looks like right now, you have multiple exit strategies. So when it comes time to refinance, if it doesn't make sense with interest rates, what you do is you just sell the property. But this is what we estimate the new construction payment to be based on 6.5% on this amount. And we're also estimating what the taxes and insurance costs involved with that. And this is what the monthly cash flow would be. Now, this isn't factoring in paying your property manager or vacancy. Vacancy in Boise is really low, still less than 3% typically. But if you pay your property manager, that might cost you $500 a month. Just really depends on your strategy there, but you would still cash flow on this. And then your tenants, again, just like with any rental, you're building wealth over time, building cash flow, more cash flow over time. This is also just based on short-term rentals, analyzing air DNA. They're saying that you would likely cash flow $2,300 a month on this project. So what we offer, you don't need to be an infill development expert because we are. So we'll teach you the basics and you can lean on us with any specifics. We walk you through every step of the way. We help with the analysis, the due diligence, zoning, entitlements, and all the way through construction. We also work with trusted realtor partners and even have property management referrals at the tail end. So what we do for you, so we help you identify the best opportunities. Our deal list describes what we think can be done, how many units and profit potential, as well as rental income generated. We help with due diligence. So we help you with the conversations with planning and zoning and other agencies. The development strategy, we create the highest and best use plan or highest value plan. We analyze for resale, long and short-term rentals, as well as development and build costs. So we handle the planning and zoning, permitting, construction, and completion. So as the owner of these projects, you can have your hands in as much or as little of this as you want. We can basically handle it all. If you want to be involved in those planning and zoning meetings, you can either be there in person or via Teams meetings, but you don't have to be. We basically cover all that. We'll send you the notes and the updates as we go. So with property analysis, so we do now our deal list, it's very high level. We don't spend a ton of time going deep into each one of those properties. We basically kind of apply the same instances or scenarios to each property. Once we have a project under contract with one of our clients, we'll actually do a further analysis. So we'll go more of a deep dive and spend a lot more time on the ROI projections, what can be built, We'll spend more time looking at the rental and sales comparables and what the potential is there. We'll develop with you the best path, whether it's to build and rent or sell it or split the lot and sell it. We'll also show you cash on cash return possibilities, equity growth, and long-term wealth possibilities. So again, we handle the zoning, city meetings, permits, construction. You just stay focused on your capital and scaling. All right, so case studies and success stories. So this is actually a property that we own currently. So this is a house we built. We bought. The original house was built in 1935. It's 897 square feet. It's west of downtown Boise off of State Street. So really great area, kind of an up and coming area, especially if they develop the transportation department right behind it. And so the nice thing with this property is the house sits on the back of the lot. We got grandfathered in for the reduced setbacks because it's been sitting there prior to zoning. And it's smaller than what's required for an ADU. So it's 897 square feet. So we fall under that 900 square foot threshold. So now we can convert this to an ADU. We gutted it. We're going to basically convert it into a 2-bed, 2-bath ADU. Then we're building a 3-story duplex up front. Each one of those units are going to have 3 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms. All those 3 bedrooms will have their own en suites, which will be great for renting as an Airbnb or rent by the room to maximize the rental income. So the nice thing with new construction is we can really design a project that's designed for your long-term goals. So if you want to add cash flowing properties or more cash flowing properties based on with short-term rental strategies, we can design a property that is optimized for short-term rentals. This is the overhead of that. It's kind of hard to see because there's a kind of a tree in the way, but this is the existing house. So we kind of replace that footprint there. So we'll have a walkway to the back there. This will actually have quite a big backyard still. And then the duplex here, so they're skinnier units and taller, but then we'll basically, how these will be laid out is we'll have a master bedroom on the first floor. The middle floors will be kitchen and great room and a half bathroom. And then the top floors will be the 2 other bedrooms with their own en suites. Each one will have a single car garage plus an additional driveway parking space. And then the ADU parking, there's still actually going to be street parking here. The city doesn't require extra parking and they don't count street parking as parking, but there are 2 additional spaces basically on the street that we'll create because we actually have to widen the road here. So another example. This is one we actually had a client close on just about 2.5, I guess 3 weeks ago now. So 303 Pine Avenue in Meridian. This lot is large enough to split into 2, but possibly more. This is actually one that we found out that while we were doing our diligence, we found out that the city would be amenable to rezoning it to the Old Town district. And what that means is that we can basically fit higher density and possibly split off 2 to 3 more lots instead of just 1. So if that's approved, we'll build and sell 2 to 3 townhomes. What we also did in this scenario is we converted the original house. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, but it was laid out perfectly. I already had a kitchen in the basement. The basement actually had its own separate entrance that could be blocked off from the upstairs with a lockable door. So that's exactly what we did. So we converted into 2-bedroom rentals, and now instead of getting maybe $2,000 a month in rent, he's going to get about $2,600 to $2,800 a month in rent. So this investor could make a total return of anywhere from 50 to 100% on his capital invested, depending on what ends up getting approved, and that's all within 24 months. And then once this is done, he wants to do this again. So this is an example of if we rezone it with townhomes, this is what the 3 units could be. Now, Meridian has different zoning requirements than Boise. Since we couldn't fit a 2-wide garage, we'd have to do single garages here, and then you can only do 2 bedrooms in each one of these. But it still provides a great opportunity for 2-bedroom townhomes. This is the original footprint of the house. And then later, he's actually thinking maybe converting this to 4 more units. But this is kind of what these look like in all these different scenarios. If it's just a single family, either doing a single family with an ADU attached or just a single family. Now the profits there aren't great, but we also increased the value of this because now we turned it into 2 different rentable units. So even though the ROI doesn't look great on this, once we factor in the existing house and the upgrades we made to that, he can now sell it for more than he bought it for and get more ROI closer to 50%. And then if we can actually build 2 to 3 townhomes, these are what those returns look like and his overall return. So this is another deal. This is probably a little bit longer term deal, but this one is another deal that we are partnering with somebody on. There's a small multifamily that is creating 200,000 plus in equity. So we're creating this equity by splitting a lot. And building a triplex on that new lot, and an ADU, and then converting the existing house to a duplex and building an ADU on that one. So basically what we're doing with this property is turning 1 door into 7 total doors. So the long-term rental cash flow initially would be about 3,000 annually, which isn't a ton. But that's with mortgage payments, and that's not requiring any more money out of pocket or more money down. So this would be rented as a mix of short-term, mid-term, and long-term. It'll actually generate more cash flow, closer to 27,000, and more if self-managed. So this cash flow is actually factoring in hiring property managers for all this. This property was originally purchased with a VA loan for a total of 15,000 out of pocket on the purchase. And so if she's able to finance all the expenses of splitting this and developing it, it's still going to cash flow with basically not having to come out any more out of pocket when it's all said and done. So the overhead on this is just an example of what we're splitting off. So this is the existing house. This is an old picture also, like since this has all been cleaned up actually. But this is a new lot, 40 foot off from the west side of this lot. Now, one thing right here that makes this property unique is it actually sits next to an old alley that was never built out. And so Ada County Highway District actually still owns this, and the city of Boise wants us to take parking off of this, which is actually beneficial. And so we can actually have Ada County basically have us develop this. We would put the paving down this alley to access parking and park in the back of the unit here. So this would be the 3-car garage. We'd have an ADU above this, and then the triplex is up front here. So we'd do side-by-side units. On this format, we actually have a basement unit also. And then this is the original house. This one again has a split basement that has a separate entry. So for pretty affordable, we could actually just add a kitchen down there. It already has 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. I think she's planning on adding a little kitchenette plus a bedroom or bathroom, another bathroom at some point. So she could actually rent this as 2 separate units. And then we can also build this ADU in the backyard of this one. So this one house basically turns into 4 additional units here on their own lot, and then another ADU back here. So kind of what those numbers look like. So this is basically kind of what we figured out the address was might be, but these are all the bedroom and bathroom counts, garage spaces, what all that rental income looks like. And then, so on the existing house, this is what this looks like. So this actually shows negative cash flow if she financed the ADU build, which, you know, may or may not happen, but then the triplex plus the ADU would actually cash flow, be able to refinance all of this debt, and that's at 7%. Again, these numbers might change, and ultimately, like if it didn't make sense to refinance it when it's all said and done, she could actually sell it and cash out that money. How to partner with Matson Homes. So the first step is get added to our deal list. So we do have some requirements for that. We were previously adding people to deal list, but then kind of figured out we have a better structure to do this now where people will be educated and understand what they're looking at. And I think it kind of saves people, it'll just save everybody time and get people excited about these. So our requirements are attending part 1 and part 2 of this education. The next part 2 is next Tuesday at the same time, and that's just going over the new construction process. And then we'll also have a part 3, which is explaining the actual deal list. So you'll watch that Zoom webinar either live or recorded, and then you can apply for our deal list access. So step 2 is get connected with one of our trusted realtor partners. So we have a handful of realtors that have gone through these same courses, and people or realtors are already helping clients buy these properties. And so they kind of know the system already, and we've kind of handpicked them to help our clients. So we'll get you in touch with one of them. Step 3 is join our weekly new deal Zoom calls. So every Friday at noon, we will actually cover all the new deals of the week, go over some of the best deals that came on the market, and go over the strategies for each of those and see if people want to jump on those. Step 4 is buy a deal and add rentals or income by selling the lots or the finished product. All right, questions and answers. So I kind of went through that pretty quickly, but does anybody have any questions?
Thanks, Zach. This is Harry.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah, really interesting. I think it's a new market for me, Boise, so I'd have to take a look at the market, what kind of properties there are. But I think we went through the slides on sort of I can't remember now. You were saying about how you would basically, so with property analysis, you said for your services for investors. So generally, your investors come to you with a property and you work with them to evaluate the best fit for that, or do you also work on sourcing? You said you've got a list of deals basically, so we would
Yeah.
start off with that. Is it? How would we? What would be the first step?
Yeah, so we actually track all these deals. So I get I'm a licensed realtor also. I don't work directly with people to help them buy or sell. It's just so I can get access to these properties and do the right analysis. But basically we track all these properties, so we carry this list. In fact, let me show you. I'm going to share my screen and just give you an example of the current deals that we have on the list to give you an idea. Let me see. Hang on 1 second. Make sure I'm sharing the right screen here. There is. So this is basically that deal list I was talking about. So we have 5 tabs on here. So this is just when I find potential deals, I'll put them here until I move them to another tab. But then we track lots where we can split off a single family house. We track lots where we can split off multifamily, so small multifamily, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes. We also track vacant land deals. We track larger subdivisions. So these are 5+ units typically. And then we're also tracking our client purchases also, and how we originally analyzed them and how they turn out. So basically, right now we have like 20+ units that we are, or 20+ properties that we're tracking that have some kind of opportunity. So you actually don't have to really do any work to find the properties. You just have to, basically get access to the deal list. These are all properties. Well, most of the properties are all on the MLS, so it's not necessarily hard to find them. It's just most people don't know what they're looking at. And so we're experts at really like identifying the opportunities. And so once we have it on the list, if something looks appealing to you, then we can do a further analysis into it and decide if it's something that you want to invest in.
Okay, nice. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I'll have to do some research, but yeah, interesting to see what's possible. It's really good.
Yeah. I know you, so you live in Dubai, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, definitely research the Boise market. The kind of the neat thing about Boise is it's been one of the top 10 real estate markets really since I've moved here. I've always been amazed at the growth rate that Boise has maintained, and it's been one of the top 10 growth markets in the country pretty much every year. I think maybe not the last couple of years because interest rates kind of dropped, and I don't know where we've landed the last couple of years, but up until like 2021, we've been in the top 10 growth as far as income growth and rental growth in the country.
Yeah, so I was saying that it's an interesting city, I think, because you got the mountains to the side, and looks like the municipality is keen to densify the city rather than just spread out, which is where this kind of strategy really can make sense.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And yeah, cities are finally recognizing that, they want that infill development and making it easier for developers like me to do that. But then, Boise's also, it's still growing. There's still people moving here from all over the place. It's a great place to live. And we're one of the few markets where we're still like we're selling more new construction than existing inventory still. So and
Mm,
I think that trajectory is going to maintain for quite a while just because we still have high demand for people moving here.
great. Okay. Nice. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm just going to pull up this presentation again. If you have your phones, you can actually, I'm going to give you a couple of things to do here. Okay, so the next step in all this is joining us for part 2. This is next Tuesday at the same time. You can really learn what sets Matson Homes apart. So we're built by investors for investors. So again, we're investors ourselves. We've kind of discovered this niche opportunity where we can help other people, and kind of it's a win-win where we can bring in revenue for our company and help other people really increase their wealth. And if they want to add rentals to their portfolio, it's a great way to do it without a lot of extra cost out of pocket from just buying that original house. So what you'll learn, so we'll cover the process of construction from design to occupancy, what the real numbers look like for new construction, behind the scenes, so what the full new build process is and what sets us apart, and then meeting smart. So how proper planning saves us time and you money. So we really focus on properly planning every build and making almost all the decisions before we ever break ground. We'll cover more case studies and success stories, and then how Boise's growth equals a ton of opportunity right now. And then we'll also cover in that how we align your investing goals with the perfect build. So we'll talk more about how we can build a property that's optimized for a long-term rental versus a short-term rental. We'll also talk how we would design it if you just want to build it and sell the house versus keeping it. So there's different strategies for all these. So that's what we'll talk about during that phase. If you guys need to get a hold of me, so you can well, one, check out our website, but then you can also follow me on socials, looking up Matson Homes. If you need to send me an email, zach@matsonhomebuilders.com. I'm also on Instagram at thatflippinguy. So a lot of this presentation we pulled straight from our guide to infill introduction to new infill development. So if you want to take out your phones and scan that, you can get the free download for that. So that basically is most of them for this information plus a little bit extra, and we're giving away that for free.